Congressman Jamie Raskin is a Democrat of Maryland. He served on the January 6th committee. He's now the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, and he joins me now. Did I get anything wrong there about the way this math works?
No, I think you got it all right. My only caveat here is I don't know that the conflict within the GOP is between those who want to spend more and those who want to spend less. As we saw during the Trump administration, they don't really care about debts and deficits. That all goes out the window. What's really happening here is you have a kleptocrat, Donald Trump, who runs the GOP, and he's in it as family business. He is a guy who does take $1 for his salary annually when he's president. Why? Because he's collecting tens of millions of dollars from the autocrats of the world, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Egypt, you name it. But how does a person like that form a working majority within the GOP? The kleptocrats have to reach out to the theocrats. And that's where Mike Johnson and the right-wing white Christian nationalists come into it. And the problem is that those people really want to legislate anti-abortion, like Mike Johnson, whose position is no abortions in the country at all, with no exceptions for rape or incest. And they start attaching, like graffiti, all of these anti-abortion amendments, all these homophobic anti-gay amendments, anti-diversity, equity, inclusion. And there are about a dozen Republicans left who are in non-completely gerrymandered districts. In other words, they're not in districts that have been drawn bright red in the image of Donald Trump and MAGA. And so those people don't want to be voting to ban abortion in the District of Columbia. They don't want to be bashing gay people, and they certainly don't want to be legislating against choice across the country. And that's the fix that they're in. Those people's political future depends on moving away from MAGA, but MAGA will only give their votes if they get that stuff.
Okay, so that's super illuminating. Like, there's all these sort of poison pill culture war amendments they want to attach, and there's some group of the caucus that just can't vote for them. But my understanding, too, is that basically those top-line numbers for all the funding this year that was worked out in that debt ceiling deal between McCarthy and Biden and then, you know, the Senate, those are the numbers. They're the numbers they're working off in the Senate, but there's a faction of the House that will think those numbers are too big and wants to cut. And if they do that, the appropriators don't want to cut that much, and so they're irreconcilable.
Well, that's true, too. There's a faction of the Freedom Caucus, the Chip Roy people, who will not vote for those numbers if it's a Democratic administration. If it's Trump in, of course, they'll vote for those numbers. Yeah, and much more inflated than that. But that's true. In other words, they want to show that somehow they're slashing into the social budget. They want to cut SNAP benefits. They want to dismantle anything the government does that doesn't directly benefit Donald Trump and that doesn't directly benefit them and the corporations that they serve. So that's a problem, too. What we've got is a rule or ruin mentality. Either Trump is going to be in and he's going to rule all the way to the point of dictating who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. And we already saw with Roger Stone's sentencing, for example, how micro he wants to get in terms of telling the Department of Justice what to do. Or if they can't rule, they're just going to ruin everything. They'll shut the government down. They'll impeach Joe Biden for absolutely nothing. They'll just be a wrecking ball against Democratic purposes.
I don't think the main story here is sort of the personalities at issue or their experience. I don't think the most gifted legislator in the world, Nancy Pelosi, for example, if she was trying to sort of whip this caucus, would have that much success. But I also do think that one of the things I've learned in my life is, like, there's certain technique and expertise that comes with any craft, whether you're building cabinets or you're teaching kids, you're working as a crossing guard, or you're serving food. And that sure as heck is true for, like, trying to get a caucus together, right? Like, it just seems like of all the people to try to do this, you've served in Congress, like, he's starting from zero on the task at hand.
Well, I mean, there are complicated rules and traditions and relationships that actually govern the real legislative process. But, someone like Mike Johnson says the Bible comes first over the Constitution, then the Constitution, and then the laws and the rules and the regulations. And by the time you get down there, it's too late. I mean, they're sending us something. I don't even know what it is a few days before the government is about to shut down. They don't have respect for the actual legislative process.
Congressman Jamie Raskin. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.